Hey everybody. People always ask me, Manny, what tools should I be using for my Amazon business? Well, this episode is brought to you by helium10.com. These are the same tools I use to generate 6 figures per month with Amazon FBA. I get keyword research, product tracking, listing optimization, search term tracking, account monitoring, and a lot of other brand new money pulling tools that are going to be released to Helium 10 members on a regular basis. If you're going to grab any tools, check these out. Seriously, get a massive advantage with the tools that top sellers are using right now. Okay, and they're all in one place. Some tools and services will have a user cap, so get in there as quickly as you can. That's helium10.com, helium10.com.
Warning, the following podcast has been classified as insanely lucrative. Listener discretion is advised.
My products were on there. The listing was exactly the same as my listing. It had my brand, but instead of it being sold by me, it just said it was sold by...
Your attention, please. Listening to the AM/PM podcast may cause recurring revenue streams and unfair advantages over your competitors. Other side effects may include fatter wallets, fired bosses, and longer vacations. Listen at your own risk. Here's your host, 7-figure entrepreneur and online marketing madman, Manny Coates. Manny Coates.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AM/PM podcast. My name is Manny Coates, and I will be your host, and this is the show where we discuss how to generate recurring revenue streams 24 hours per day during the AM and the PM. Hence the name of the show, morning and night, AM/PM podcast. Get it? As a matter of fact, I just ordered a game, a specific type of game that I will probably be selling as a private label product. And while investigating this whole thing and checking it out, I was making money. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. So today, we're going to be talking about something really weird, okay? And I wish I could say that I was the first person to break this news, but I'm not. And I try to. I try to get you guys really good information as quickly as possible. But it was my buddy Kevin Reiser that actually broke this news, and I needed to actually share this with you guys because it could be pretty serious. So the majority of the people that listen to this podcast are based here in the U.S., and the majority of those people only sell on the U.S. store. Okay, they haven't gone out to the European stores or Canada, right? Our neighbors just to the north of us. And it's pretty interesting what happened here. There's a particular company, okay, and this company is called Glendora Unique Mall, and they have figured out some way. They've got an automated system, it looks like, to actually comb through the U.S. store and grab your product listings and bring them over to the Canadian store, automatically set up the listings there on the Canada side, right, and start selling your product. Now, don't take my word for it. Go to Amazon.ca, right, the Canadian store, and do a search for your brand name and see if you show up. Now, you might not, right, because there's millions and millions of products on Amazon, but I did, and sure enough, over half of the products that I sell, almost all the brands that I have, are on there. They're under their catalog, okay, their unique mall, their storefront, I guess I should call it. So if you actually go and click on their storefront, I'm doing this right now as we speak, Glendora Unique Mall, they have right now, as of the time of this podcast, there's 382,694 results, okay? That's almost 400,000 products on their catalog. Now you can imagine this is some kind of automated system that goes through, but let's take a little closer look at this, right? So the first thing I noticed was that my products were on there. The listing was exactly the same as my listing. It had my brand, but instead of it being sold by me, it said it was sold by Glendora Unique Mall. I'm like, interesting. They don't sell the product for the price that I sell it for, okay? They sell it for about anywhere between 2 to 3 times the price. It looks like it's closer to almost 3 times the price point on all the products that they're listing of mine. And I started to look at other products that are on there. And we're talking about anything. You can look at like a USB car charger or whatever it might be. And the prices are also somewhere right around 3 times the price point. And they also charge a shipping and handling fee. And it looks like in most cases, from what I've seen, it's about $8.99 Canadian. Okay. So they're selling things for triple the price. They're adding shipping on there, and they almost have nothing in stock. In fact, as I look at all the products, almost every single one of them says they only have 3 units left in stock. 3 units. So it makes me wonder, how are they doing this, right? And why are they doing this? Well, it's a pretty genius business model if you think about it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's legal. I don't know what's going on for sure. But here's what I think is going on. And we're going to go through this, and then we're going to talk about what you can do about it and the difficulties that you're going to run into trying to compete against them for your own product on the Canadian store. So what I think is going on here, and I talked to Kevin about this as well, so these aren't just only my thoughts. We both tend to agree on most of this, I would say. But they have everything automated. I don't know what they're doing exactly on how to pick the 382,000 products. But they probably have an algorithm that goes out and it finds the top stuff, the things that are actually selling units. And it grabs those listings, brings them in, imports all the stuff, sets up the whole thing, and then adds 3 units to stock. Okay? And that does one of 2 things. First of all, when it only has 3 units in stock, it makes it so that the product is actually available, right? They now have a buy button. You can actually order it. The second thing is when there's only 3 units in stock, people have that drive, like, oh my God, there's only 3 left. It's a really good number to actually get people to jump on and place that order. Okay, and I've talked about tactics like this where they only send in a small portion of inventory at a time to always have that text there that says they're about to run out, because it makes people want to get it right then and there. So they're doing that as well. Now, do they really have only 3 products in stock, and where are they getting this inventory? So at first you might be thinking, man, these are like the ultimate hijackers, but it doesn't make sense that they would have almost 400,000 products that they've hijacked. It's almost inconceivable, right? Now, they could, right? They could be finding the best stuff, buying 3 products directly from you, okay? Maybe they've got a system that's checking to see when products go on sale. They track that, right? That's easy to do. And when things go on sale, maybe a company is trying to boost up you could get a certain number of reviews going again, and they can buy inventory cheap and then turn around and sell it for 3 times more, and the profit margin is crazy. But I don't think they're doing that. I think what they're doing is they're just listing it as if they have 3 products, and because they're actually shipping it out themselves, and there's an $8.99 shipping fee, they're waiting till the order comes in, and then they're actually placing that order from the U.S. store, your store, getting that product in, and then they're actually shipping that product out to the customer. That's what they're probably doing. I haven't tested this. I just found out about this kind of stuff just recently, and I've been so busy I have not had a chance to actually test this theory, right? It would be pretty easy to test. I can imagine I would order 3 of these things from them, maybe 4 even, see what happens, and then see if I get an order from some company in Canada for 3 or 4 products. And then I would know it's linked that way, right? So easy to test. I haven't done that. One of you guys might be able to do this test and then post on our Facebook group and let everybody know. That would be fantastic. Our Facebook group, by the way, if you are not a member, over 6,000 active members in there. Check it out over at, if you go to Facebook, it's called the FBA High Rollers. Actually, the full name is Amazon FBA High Rollers. And there's also a link on our website that links to the Facebook group. The website, of course, is ampmpodcast.com. AM in the morning, PM in the evening. Okay? So let's get back to this. They're ordering the product, they're shipping it out, they're charging 3 times as much, so they can actually buy the product at full cost to you, okay, at the full regular price, bring it out, pay any kind of duties or anything that they might have to pay. Okay, I don't know how the Canadian side of things works because I'm not actually selling in Canada yet, but whatever they're doing, they have enough buffer in there to cover that, and then they charge on top of everything $8.99 to the customer for shipping, so it's probably covering the majority of the fees. So multiply this by 382,000 products, right? And imagine the amount of money these guys are making without having to go out and buy any inventory, without having to go and source anything, talk to suppliers, without having to bankroll anything, without having to deal with shipping, any of that. It's like crazy arbitrage on a massive scale, right? And they've automated everything clearly because I don't see any way, unless they had a factory full of people in another country and you got 200 people that are just manually doing this stuff. And I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's much easier to automate the whole system. It just looks too clean. So Here's a problem though. Let's just say you see this, and it's really not affecting you more than likely, right? Because they've got the product on their store. They're selling products. If somebody actually buys it at, you're selling a product for $30 and they're selling it for $90 and someone buys it, whatever, right? I mean, they're buying the unit from you more than likely. So they're not technically a hijacker. A hijacker, somebody that's selling the product that isn't your product, right? So normally the whole process of hijacking is you're going to go and you're going to try to order the product and you're going to see if it's actually counterfeit, and if it is, then you can get them removed. But if they're buying the product from you brand new, they have the right, according to Amazon's terms of service, to resell that product as new as well. So they're really not hijacking, okay? Not in the sense of what we've normally talked about, what a hijacker is. Now, there is one caveat to this, and that is if you look at Amazon's terms of service for a product being new, being sold as new, that brand new product has a list of things it needs to qualify it as new, right? So first of all, it needs to be brand new, has to be unused, unopened item in its original packaging with all original packaging materials included, original protective wrapping, if any, is intact. Okay, so far, no problem there for this Canadian seller. But here's where it gets a little dicey. It continues and says, original manufacturer's warranty, if any, still applies, with warranty details included in the listing comments. Now, the listing is copied from your listing, so it's for your product, but the warranty, if you've worded things correctly on your listing, should only apply to products purchased through authorized dealers or resellers, right? Which would be your own company. It wouldn't be this other company here on Canada. So they don't actually have a manufacturer's warranty if they're selling that product. So that could be one way that you can quickly use to actually get them taken off, because they technically are against terms of service. But in this case, it really does, if you're not selling on the Canadian side of things, you're just getting a couple extra orders if they happen to get buyers for that particular product. So it doesn't affect you too much. But here's where it does affect you. Let's say you're now going into the Canadian market. You want to go list your products on the Canadian side of things, right? So you go in there, but your product's already listed. So you get everything set up, and now you're like, well, they're selling my product for $90. I'm going to sell it for $30. You're going to actually mark it up probably a little bit more than you would in the U.S. because there are additional fees and, of course, the valuation of the dollar, the exchange rate, right? So it's going to be a little bit higher, but still, you're going to be well under half of what they're charging. So you should get the buy box, one would think, but you don't typically. Right? Now you're wondering, well, why? Why wouldn't I get the buy box? Isn't it all price-based? Well, no, not always, okay? Price is a big factor for sure. But this company, I'm looking at it right now here, I just clicked over, they have a 4.8 star seller feedback rating. 4.8, that's pretty solid, guys. That's really, really good. And that's over the past 12 months, and they have a 224 feedback ratings. So that's a lot. So you're coming into this market, the Canadian store, with no seller feedback, no ratings, no time, right? You haven't been selling at all. So the algorithm is going to take all that into consideration, and you're not going to be able to get that buy box. They're always going to be popping up and taking that buy box away from you, even at the higher price. Sure, people will see that, the product is available from other sellers for a cheaper amount, but how often do you guys go in when you're looking at stuff to buy yourself and click into those other sellers? Most people don't do that. So you're going to have a really, really rough time competing with them. You might get lucky. Maybe you have something going on, but from what I've seen, this is going to be the case. Now, how do you get around this? Well, the only way that I know of that works well, and again, I got this. I'm not going to take credit for this. Kevin had told me about this. You got to send in a cease and desist letter, right? You got to send in a letter that's well formulated that basically is telling them they are not authorized to sell your product. They certainly can't provide the manufacturer's warranty on it. You're going to word it however you need to word it to get them off your listing. And from what I understand, they will very quickly, within 24 hours, remove the product. Because that's not their business. That's not the model they're after. They don't want to get into any kind of fight, right? Any kind of legal battle with 380-something thousand product owners. Okay? Now, that's not the number of companies, but that's the number of products. So there's going to be thousands and thousands of companies that could potentially be sending these things are sending this company these letters, and they probably do. It probably happens on a regular basis. They have an automated way of doing this thing, or maybe they've got one person or two people that just do this full time all day long, just removing products when they get the stuff. They just don't want to deal with it. Okay, and fine, you don't need to. Why deal with that when you have, you're approaching 500,000 products? You can remove one person, one company, one product line or brand, whatever it might be, and add 10 in its place. So they've got this set up. They're probably making millions and millions per month, I would imagine, because I'm looking at some of these products that they're selling at these crazy prices, and they've got a ton of reviews. Okay, so and a lot of the reviews, say, hey, the product is overpriced, but people are still buying it. They don't know any difference, right, or any different. That's the only product like that for that particular brand on the Canadian store. So it's crazy. There's probably more to it. And if anybody has more information related to this, I'd love to hear from you. Definitely tag me in the Facebook group and let me know what you think. But check it out. Head over to amazon.ca. Okay, that's the Canadian store, and type in your brand. Okay, and if you don't see your brand, type in some competitors' brands. You know who your competitors are. Type them in. And then when you go to the listing, it'll say the correct brand name, but look at who's selling it. And if you see it sold by Glendora Unique Mall, boom, that's what's going on. Now, they're probably not the only ones doing this, and maybe the company that's behind this even has other accounts, and they're also doing it under other accounts as well. But this was the one that popped up for Kevin. This is the one that popped up for me, and it's pretty crazy. So just want to let you guys know that this is happening, how to get around it when you are ready to move over to the Canadian store. And I just thought it was really interesting, how people think outside the box. They certainly did, and I don't know how legal it is, but they're killing it looks like, on a big scale. And unfortunately, you're going to have to take a few steps probably to get that buy button if you want to get into the Canadian market, if they've taken your brand. So definitely check that out. I want to mention, guys, that you can always ask me questions, or if you want me to cover specific topics, you can do so. You can request that over at our website, AMPM Podcast. That's the letter A, the letter M, the letter P, the letter M. So ampmpodcast.com. There's on the right-hand corner, there's a Ask Manny questions, and you can leave me a voicemail. I'd love you to leave a voice message, because that would be cool. We'll play that right on one of our Q&A episodes. And you can also go to our Facebook group, which I mentioned is called the FBA High Rollers. Definitely check that. It's a closed group, but we'll get you approved. Over 6,000 people in there. As always, I use the tools over at Helium 10, so check that out, helium10.com. Okay, and they're just fantastic, best-in-class tools. And that's about it. So, guys, until next time, keep crushing it out there, and I'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the AM/PM podcast, hosted by Manny Coates. For more information, insider tools, and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit ampmpodcast.com.